me, I thought like some of the reaction was like White Sox fans, White Sox organization, everybody kind of needs a little bit of like therapy when it comes to just the Tony La Russa years. I think there's a lot that happened, a lot that's not being talked about, a lot that's being like swept under the rug. Like, the White Sox did it with Rob Ventura, they did it with Tony La Russa, like ended by the Ozigian era, like crazy stuff happens at the end of it. And they just go like, well, that was weird. Anyway, the next year, let's talk about that. Like they don't actually properly address it. Like there's no overhaul to change the leadership structure that leads to these things going wrong. And so it just keeps happening over and over again and nothing's really addressed. And so you don't have like, well, I also think like SoxFest was sometimes that form of therapy where fans could get things off their chests and, say like, hey, I don't like the way you're doing this, or I don't like the way the team played under you, or I got bored by the lack of energy and such. And like, Kenny Williams would have to nod and take it, or Robin Ventura would have to say like, why, the fans are wrong, or and offer to disagree. But there's at least like fans had a way of presenting their dissatisfaction to the organization in a direct way. But I think with like SoxFest being removed and part of Anderson's reaction, and also like I think what Lawrence and Layla said on the show, talking about like how there is kind of an us against them thing brewing, and other players have kind of talked about the same thing with the quote unquote narrative. Like what the narrative is, the record of 500 when you're supposed to win the division last year. I mean, like that's not narrative, that's just underachieving. Like that's not a story. That's what happened. But you can kind of see this happening. And so I wonder if like SoxFest is like the players don't want to be dealing with this either. The players just want to move on because they were saddled with Tony La Russa, who nobody wanted, and just everybody wants to move on. But it strikes me as like, because that didn't happen, because there wasn't any of that kind of exhaust port to get all of this stuff out there and out of systems, that now it's leaked into spring training. And now this is just it's going to come up here and there as players are presented with questions that they didn't hear in January. And this might kind of go on for a while. I'm thinking not just Anderson, but perhaps with other players as well, as they're asked questions that they thought they were done with in October, but never got like the proper accounting for, or the typical accounting for, in January.
I mean, they didn't even speak in October, really. I mean, the exit interview was, let's put it nicely, short and sweet from Chicago White Sox players. We barely heard from them. And when we did hear from them after the season, it was all about how they're feeling for Tony, and they're hoping that Tony feels better.
And Jose Abreu too.
Jose Abreu, right. And sorry for the sigh, folks, but there's a lot to dissect from this. And there's just a part of me that's like rolling my eyes that we're talking about this in late February, but it does expose a wound. And I didn't even think about it from that angle, Jim. Not having SoxFest prevented both the Chicago White Sox personnel, front office, the new manager, the players, and the fans and media, like lots of media go to SoxFest, a very corporate term, have a root cause analysis of what happened in 2022. And because he didn't have that, now this is carrying over to spring training, and it's taking on a totally different tone. I could definitely buy that. I think that is a really smart way of looking at it, Jim. Because let's play the hypothetical here.
Yeah.
What if Tim Anderson said this to Chuck Garfien, but he's on a stage at McCormick Place at SoxFest? Would White Sox fans and media take that differently?
Well, he might not have said fans.
I could see him.
Yeah, maybe he could. Yeah, maybe
I could see him
but
calling out fans in attendance. A gesture, laughing, smiling, trying to be as positive as possible. But us fans, everyone has to be more positive.
Yeah. But I could see that being a case where you can read his body language. He can read fans' body language, or just like the murmur in the room, and adjust to, have a human interaction in a disagreement, or like a point counterpoint, come to some kind of agreement, or, settling in the middle.
Yeah. That's so smart. I wish I thought of that. for SoxFest, usually it's like okay, so without having SoxFest, the lingering effects of not having SoxFest is also a great way to hype fans up for the upcoming season. And we said this at 108 Day. It felt like 108 Day was like our responsibility to try to hype up White Sox fans.
We didn't do a very good job of it.
We did not do a very good job of that for the upcoming season. And man, could you imagine 108 Dave, we knew about the Mike Clevenger news? Like, I know I said in the last podcast we won't spend a lot of time on it, but it's just something that I thought of is that 108 Dave would have gone a lot different. That first panel that you and I co-host would have gone a lot different if we knew of that news. But it's just like, so back to what Lawrence was speaking about with the White Sox, and Lawrence is right here. And we touch on this for a lot of times over the 10 years we've been podcasting. The White Sox seem to dig holes for themselves very efficiently. They don't need help to stub their toe. They will find a way. And the last podcast we just released was on Monday, and I felt like the vibes were pretty positive from a White Sox side. I got off my chest about Clevenger, but they signed Elvis Andrus, and you had the news about Anderson Comas and the inspirational Liam Hendriks showing up at spring training, that there were positive things happening at spring training camp. And I get where Lawrence is coming from. It's like, just wait 48 hours because something else is going to happen with the White Sox. And it's going to make everyone mad. It's going to piss off a lot of fans. And, circling back to SoxFest, not having that moment, grouping up thousands of White Sox fans and just having that face the music opportunity.
Sit in the dunk tank.
Is suddenly playing a larger role in how fans are feeling to the upcoming season, because there's just this unaddressed anger that is currently out there. And I get it, and I have it at times about the White Sox, that simply ignoring it from a White Sox perspective is a terrible idea, Jim.